Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be going through a few troubleshooting tips with your spinet from We Are Memory Keepers. So the first thing you want to take a look at is making sure that the machine's arm is adjusted. There are two gears. The one at the bottom will adjust to your cup size, and the one at the top will make sure that there's a snug fit onto your machine. So because these gears are so important, I'm going to cover the top gear with masking tape. This will protect it from allowing any epoxy to cure to the gear. And then if you do get epoxy on your tape, just take it off and replace it before your next spin. Be sure to twist your arm all the way tight to the right before your next step. Now I'm going to make sure that the cup has a nice snug fit. Once I know that it has a tight grip, I'm going to test it by just turning the dial and watching a test run. Then I can adjust as needed. A pro tip that I like to give is you can get good practice on balancing your cup by pushing it all the way against the base and then slightly backing it down the arm. By doing this, I get an even rotation every time. Another thing to check for if you're having rotation problems is to check the shape of the brackets on the arm. Make sure that they're not misshapen and you can bend them back into form if they are. And then the most important part of your machine again is making sure your arm is rotated all the way to the right to give it a secure spin. As far as protecting your machine against epoxy, you can line the rim of your tumbler with masking tape, but I just go super easy around the rim with epoxy and I don't do that any longer. The more you use your machine, the more you'll become familiar with it and you'll be a pro in no time. So now let's walk through the epoxy process. You'll need 2 cups, a stick to stir, and your epoxy. All epoxy will come in 2 parts, part A and part B. One is the resin and one is the hardener. Just to make it easy, I use these bottles and I'll link them in the description box below. My 2 favorite brands of epoxy are Alumilite and Faux Rizzle, and I will link those for you too. When stirring epoxy, it is absolutely important to get that 1-to-1 ratio. If your ratio is off or if you don't stir it thoroughly, you will not have a good smooth finish. When you start mixing your epoxy, you'll see that it starts off cloudy, and that is totally normal. Just continue to mix your epoxy, be sure to scrape the sides, and it will eventually start to clear. When your epoxy is clear, it is ready to put on your tumbler. Be sure that anytime you are handling or will be touching epoxy to wear gloves. Some people also prefer to use other protective gear, but the gloves work best for me. So you just have to find your routine and do what's best for you. I'm going to place a piece of paper up under my cup so if the epoxy runs, it's not going to get on my spinet base. Just use your hand to work the epoxy top to bottom. If you put too much epoxy onto your cup, you can scrape it and put it back into your cup that you're mixing from. You'll want an even coat all the way around the tumbler, including the top and the bottom, to have a full even coat. One way to combat about fish eyes is to make sure that your tumbler is completely covered. Epoxy is self-leveling, so once you get it onto your cup completely, just allow it a few minutes to spin. And now I'm going to use my torch to blow out any bubbles. It doesn't take much with a torch, you're literally just blowing back and forth, and this helps the epoxy to cure evenly. It absolutely gets rid of fish eyes, and it will pop any micro bubbles that you have in your epoxy. Now I'm going to change my paper to be able to save my excess glitter. This glitter is Light Pink by We Are Memory Keepers. This is what's known as the epoxy method. It's super easy. All it is applying a thin coat of epoxy and then sprinkling your glitter all the way until the tumbler is covered. And this just happens to be my favorite part. So you can see how much glitter I'm shaking onto the tumbler, and it's all going to be saved by shaking it down onto the paper, and then I'll transfer that back into the shaker container. You can see as I'm glittering that the tumbler is not wobbling, it's not shaking its way down the arm, it just has a nice smooth rotation. So just to recap on some troubleshooting tips with the spinet is you want to make sure that your arm is totally snug, twisted all the way right on your machine. You want to make sure that you have the right grip for your cup and that it's evenly spinning. And using your spinet should absolutely be that easy. So thank you for watching. Be sure to drop a comment if you have any questions about troubleshooting for yourself. Subscribe to my channel, hit the bell for notifications when I upload. And until next time, thanks guys.